Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever just looked at a skyscraper or a bridge or even the pyramids and thought, how? Well, our entire world is literally built on a foundation of some pretty incredible materials. And today, we're going to dig into the science behind the very stuff that shapes our civilization.
No, I mean, really think about it. What keeps that bridge from collapsing during rush hour or that skyscraper from crumbling in the wind? Well, it's a fascinating story of human ingenuity, of us taking what the Earth gives us and through science transforming it into something amazing. So let's go on that journey, from raw rock all the way to revolutionary powders.
All right, let's dive right in. And we have to start with the original building material, stone. For thousands of years, if you wanted to build something that would last, you took it straight out of the ground. Simple, right? Well, not exactly. Turns out not all stone is created equal. Now this is where it gets really cool. An engineer looks at a piece of rock through 3 different lenses to figure out what it can do. First, there's the geological lens. This tells its origin story, Was it born from cooling magma, like igneous rock, or maybe laid down in layers over millions of years, like sedimentary rock? Then you've got the physical lens. What's its structure like? Can you split it into layers? And finally, the chemical lens. What's it made of? Mostly silica or lime? Each one of these gives us vital clues about how strong it's going to be.
So what's the difference between a great building stone and, well, a glorified paperweight? It all comes down to this checklist. You obviously need durability and strength. It's got to be hard enough to not wear down. But here's a really crucial one: water absorption. A good stone won't soak up more than 6% of its weight in water. Why? Because water gets in, freezes, expands, and cracks the stone. And of course, you can't break the bank. It's this tricky balancing act to find the perfect stone for the job.
Okay, so searching for the perfect rock is one thing, but what if we could make a perfect standardized building block whenever we wanted? This is our first huge innovation. This is when humanity figured out how to take humble clay and transform it with fire into something truly revolutionary. And check this out. A good brick isn't just baked mud, it's a precise chemical recipe. That big chunk of silica, that's for hardness, and it stops the brick from cracking. The alumina, that's the clay part, is what gives it plasticity, so you can mold it. And those little bits of lime and iron oxides, they're like a secret sauce. They help everything fuse together in the heat. Oh, and the iron oxide, that's what gives most bricks their classic red color.
And this quote right here, this gets to the very heart of the magic. You start with something soft, something you can literally shape with your hands, but you put it through the intense heat of a kiln, and you trigger a chemical change that fuses all those little particles together. What comes out is a hard, strong, and weather-resistant unit that can last for centuries. It's an incredible transformation.
This simple 4-step process is a manufacturing marvel that we've been perfecting for thousands of years. First, you prep the clay, clean it up, blend it to that perfect recipe we just saw. Then you mold it. Now the drying phase is super critical. You have to do it slowly, otherwise the bricks will crack. And finally, the burning. You fire them up in a kiln, and that's what locks in all that strength and durability.
Okay, so stacking blocks is one thing, but what if you want to bind them all together to make a single, solid structure? Well, now we get to the ultimate game changer, cement. This isn't just another block. This is the powerful adhesive, the literal glue that makes all of modern construction possible. To really get why cement was such a mind-blowing invention, just look at it next to what we used before, lime. Lime works, but it sets super slowly and it's just not that strong. But cement? It sets fast, it gets incredibly strong, and it can even harden underwater. This massive leap in performance completely changed the game for what we could build.
So, at its core, what is cement? It's this finely ground powder, made by heating up lime-based and clay-based stuff in a giant kiln. The real magic happens when you just add water. It kicks off a chemical reaction that causes it to harden into a solid, rock-like mass, binding together anything it touches. It's that simple process that lets us create the massive concrete structures we see all around us.
But the real secret to cement's power is hidden inside, at the molecular level. Think of these 2 compounds. Tricalcium silicate, or C3S, is the sprinter. It works fast and gives the cement most of its strength in the first month. Then you've got dicalcium silicate, or C2S. That's the marathon runner. It works slowly, and it just keeps adding strength for months, sometimes even for years, making the whole structure stronger over time.
And here's a fantastic little detail. Without this tiny pinch of gypsum, just 3 to 5%, all that powerful chemistry we just talked about would happen almost instantly.
The second water hit the cement, it would turn to rock, making it totally useless. Gypsum is the unsung hero that hits the brakes just long enough for us to mix, pour, and shape concrete.
So we've got our lineup: stone, brick, and cement. With all these amazing options, how do modern builders and engineers actually choose the right one for a project? Well, let's get into the final piece of the puzzle: the science of selection.
Before using any material, engineers have to understand its mechanical properties. This is basically the language they use to describe how something behaves when you push or pull on it. Will it crush? Will it snap? Can it bend a little without breaking? By testing for things like strength and elasticity, they can predict exactly how a material will perform. This is the science that separates building from just gambling. And you know, it's never as simple as just picking the strongest thing. It's a really complex balancing act. I mean, sure, it has to be strong enough, but is it safe? Is it even available where you're building? And what about the cost? Not just to buy it, but to maintain it for the next 50 years. The absolute best choice is the one that finds that perfect sweet spot between all these competing factors.
And that kind of brings us full circle. The journey from just pulling rocks out of a quarry to engineering cement powder on a molecular level is what allowed us to build our modern world. And it just makes you wonder, as our science keeps advancing, what incredible new materials are we going to invent? What will the building blocks of tomorrow be? What will we build with next?